And for Brown, you mentioned it, the opportunity to play in Ivy Madness at home and have that advantage. It would be a great way to cap off the season, but they need the win, and a big one here today.
First possession, ball knocked out of bounds as Grace Arnoley jabbed it loose, knocked it off the hands of Marissa Chapman. Yale in the white jerseys going from right to left on your screen. Brown, of course, in their brown away jerseys going from left to right.
And quickly summing up what you were talking about in terms of the tie breaks, it's a freak scenario. You go to the head-to-head, and if Brown wins, if Brown wins, they would have the two. Well, they finished level against each other, Brown and Penn, in the regular season. Then you go down the line in the Ivy League standing, starting from highest, going down to lowest, and equal records against every single team in the Ivy League forces that net tiebreaker.
It's a situation that you don't often get, but of course in an 18 conference, there is the better likely chances. That's high off the window and good for Grace Aiello. We can understand why. She's shooting at an Ivy League second best 57% this year. Last game, a double-double against Cornell, 15 points, 16 rebounds. Our officials, by the way, Sean Good is our lead, and Keith Batson and Ashley Rivera are the two assistants. Kylie Capstraw at the top of the key, kicks near side. Mackenzie Egger, one of the other seniors, has her effort off the mark. There's Avery Lee, though, saving the possession. Lee will trigger, and it's off the mark. Flying in was Egger, but it's cleared by Aiello. It's 1 and 2 in the rebounding battle in the league as Egger leads the conference in boards per game at 9.3. Aiello right behind, but overall rebound behind. A turnover now. Capstraw trying to push tempo. She's got options, pulls up from the logo. It's off the mark.
And a lot of pace in this early action.
Arnoley inside. Olivia Young, way too strong in the baseline. Bunny. Yeah, both teams are fine playing up-tempo, and that was something that Yale was really trying to figure out, the right speed that they want to play at. They want to play a little bit more track meet style, but they've definitely reined it into their tempo the last few weeks. Lee driving, the coast goes clear, and she scores.
And it started with that matchup against Dartmouth a couple of weeks ago. They really ran up the score against the Big Green. The only team they managed to beat twice this season, and managed to keep that up on the road against Cornell. And yeah, Columbia on the road, obviously going to be a really tough matchup, but they have seemed to find their peak form right here in the home stretch, even if it's a bit too late to get into Ivy Madness.
Nice take from Beth Nelson, slashing through the lane. The junior from Tennessee, averaging just under 4 points per game. And yeah, that's the way that the Ivy has been built over the last few years. Columbia, Princeton, and Harvard by far and away the leaders, and everyone else trying to play catch-up as Chapman goes into the corner. The latest projections would have all three of those teams playing in the NCAA tournament as Grace Thibault misses on the jumper. It's crazy to think that 5-6 years ago, the Ivy would get the one. That's it, the one automatic qualifier, which at that point was just the early stages of the Ivy League tournament. But now it's almost expected to have three teams dancing.
Because they've generated such consistently quality squads that really are able to run the table.
As inside to Aiello, stops, picks up her dribble, kicks it back to Nelson. 3 balls off the front of the iron. Egger able to secure, and now trying to push tempo here. Capstraw to Egger, blows by, runs into a pair, somehow got the shot off. It pinballs around, and Mauricio clears. Now Grace Arnoley playing game 80 with Brown. Couldn't convert. She gets fouled, and nearly scoring 1,100 career points coming into today. That foul is actually on Aiello.
And what we've seen in this early action is all of the bigs are really getting involved underneath. A lot of contact between Thibault, Aiello, Egger getting in the mix a few times here as well. It's going to be a physical game under the cup.
Yeah, Brown right now, despite only being in the middle of the Ivy standings and rebounds per game at 33.5, but they absolutely bang on the boards. They've got great verticality as Lee gets around a screen from Egger. Skip to a wide open Capstraw. Chapman spinning through the lane, looking for a kick. Egger trying to go baseline, pulls up with 3, steps through. It's too strong. Capture with the weak side rebound, put it on the floor, and Mauricio takes it away. And the senior from California trying to push tempo now. Mauricio waiting, instead attacks, and she gets fat. Ooh, I thought for a second that was going to be a foul call, but there was a bit of contact, it has to be said.
Definitely a little bit of a body bump, but probably light enough, and she was gliding a bit through the air, so very easy thing to miss. It will still be Brown possession on that end of the floor as we get another look at this cut. Yeah, Guillen, it was definitely close enough that you could see why they no-call it. Either way, no harm, no foul in a sense, as the Bears get another crack at it.
I love that little hesitation blow-by from Mauricio, though. Aiello, she does get fouled, and she'll go to the line for a pair.
Yeah, that one's hard to avoid. And when you're Aiello, you're going to draw that attention, and she is a presence. On top of being the tallest player on the floor for either team at 6'4", you could sense the length, like the ability to just outreach and maneuver around under there. It's going to be tough for Yale to contest.
The foul will be on Anna Guillen, her first personal. Aiello, not bad as a center. It's 71% from the season. Misses on the first. Both teams a little sluggish out of the gate. Yale at 1 of 7 from the floor. Brown 2 of 7. As Sheila Klein, a freshman from Wilmette, Illinois, checks in. Klein more noted for her defensive work, averaging about a point and a rebound per game. Yale now scoreless in over 2.5 minutes. Guillen asked for her in the high post.
They've been working hard to get close. Shot quality has been pretty poor, though.
As Guillen throws a high off the window, and yeah, what it looks like Brown are trying to do, they're selling out for that drive and kick and taking away the shooting lanes. Yale love to get feet into the paint, but a little hesitant after.
And sometimes they get into the paint, it's not there, but they're going to still try to push it.
Mauricio gets around Egger. Aiello gets the board, and she found the mismatch underneath, and she gets hit. And I love the work of Gianna underneath. Just goes side to side, looks for the little pocket of space. She gets rewarded for her effort.
I mean, it's not a strategy, but it's inevitably going to be something that works. All right, you want chances at points? Have Aiello there to scoop up an offensive board, and inevitably someone's going to try to get the stop, and eventually it's hard to actually get up and get ball. So you'll draw some fouls that way.
Yes, Yale already their second as a team. Marissa Chapman picking up her first personal. No, excuse me, her second personal. That's a bit of a miss for Yale. And Dalila Eshe, as Chapman's been logging a lot of minutes during Ivy play. Full court press. Yale able to break. Yale would love to have Kylie Chapman go off. It has been a challenging scoring season for her, but Avery Lee shows everyone how it's done, gets the hoop and the harm, and she will go to the line when we return.
Beautiful drive. The senior putting up a big bucket, and we got a good one here on Senior Day.
This one for the Ivy Tournament Championship. Some contact, count it! Brown for 3. In it! 1-point game, big time three. Back to the NCAA tournament, dancing yet again! Ivy Madness champions.
We see the promises you make. Doing more than your fair share. Working twice as hard. Saving lives, changing lives. And your life's work deserves nothing less than a lifetime guarantee. You made a promise. So did we. TIAA's promise of a guaranteed retirement paycheck for life is a promise that pays off.
These Bulldogs are the top dog. Auburn, an overtime winner, Princeton into the round of 32. And Cornell will play on championship
Life can be complicated, but the way we treat people, not complicated at all. Our teammates and our classmates, our neighbors and complete strangers, the ones that look like us and the ones that don't, people that we agree with, and the ones we agree to disagree. How we respect one another and embrace our differences. How we treat one another. There is no in-between or other side. Listen to each other. Learn from each other. Act when you see what you don't believe. Expect equality. Life can be complicated. This part is not.
Dalila Ashe in her third season at the helm of Yale women's basketball, trying to end on a high note. As we said in the open, if Yale were to win this game, it'd be the first time during her tenure that the Bulldogs would close out a season winners of 3 of their last 4, knocking off Dartmouth in their last home game 76-59, winning a nail-biter against Cornell. Tough luck Big Red weekend, as Cornell at home losing to both Brown and Yale by a combined 4 points.
It's obviously a tough situation. It's definitely not ideal, but you know, you make the best of what you can, and now you head into this last weekend. A big thing you want to look for is just ending on a high note. If you're Yale, just sending out the seniors strong, keep pushing it out. And then Brown here, they're playing a dogged matchup to begin here, getting really physical down low, getting steals and rebounds. Managed to keep that one alive on the sideline.
It was Grace Arnley, the one that saved the possession by going almost into the first row, misses on the 3, and now Kylie Capstraw throws it out of bounds, completing the sequence. Speaking of Cornell, yeah, it was a tough one for them, but Emily Garner, who's an outstanding coach previously at Trinity and led them to some deep runs in the NCAA tournament. It's not a matter of if, but it's going to be when Cornell come back and make that move, because if you can get it done in the conference that Trinity plays in, that's basically one of the top leagues in the NESCAC in D3, then you're going to have success in this league.
And without question, it's all a matter of time. And, you know, there's that, as we talked about at the outset, this developing system where the Ivy's getting more bids, but that's not going to necessarily be a static 3. You're eventually going to have teams waxing and wane. You could see the potential of, say, even a team like Yale. They struggled mightily this year, but a lot of their talent is really young, a lot of room to grow.
Oh, with the amount of first years that get regular minutes, as Kiera Odom, one of those first years, gets called for a double dribble. It's one of those things where it was a matter of just getting everybody together, understanding the pace, and that was, speaking to Coach Ashe earlier this season, just the limited amount of time the group had together to gel in the preseason. And really you're just saying, okay, we're treating non-conference as an extension of that preseason, getting the group ready for league play, which is why finishing on the note that Yale has done is actually a really positive for them. As underneath, once again, Gianna Aiello with 8 on the shot clock, can't finish it, but she'll go to the line as Grace Thibault picks up her first personal.
And if there's somebody you want to draw foul trouble from, Thibault is a great candidate to try to get those marks against. She's going to be the best positioned to try to contest Aiello defensively. It's only her first, so nowhere near trouble, but that's something to keep an eye on.
Well, that's 3 focal players that have already picked up fouls here in this first quarter for Yale. Chapman is already sitting with 2 personals. Then you have Capstraw and Thibault each with 1. Aiello has gone as high as 23 points in a game. That was back against Monmouth in early November. Having a little bit of a struggle spot from the free throw line, despite shooting at 71% this year.
Only 3 of 6 from there today.
Egger still with plenty of time on the shot clock. Kicks it back to Capstraw, jab step. Thibault from mid-range, rattles in. big roar from the JLA faithful as Grace Thibault, the senior from Irvington, New York, gets her first points. One of the 3 graduating seniors today.
The driving kicks have really been a part of the theme. You flagged that. Almost worked out there, but the pass a little errant, so no ability to get set.
Nice save once again. Grace Arnley is just hunting down everything. It's going to trigger near side to Olivia Young. Gets her own miss and lays it in. And you're going to count it as well. That's a coach's dream. Follow your own miss and make something happen.
Great hustle here from Young. Went right back to her. She was already charging in. Nobody had an eye. And we'll see who they charge that against. They're going to give that to Thibault. That's now her second.
And the one thing that Yale does not have is a lot of depth at that 4-5 position. And a Guillen will come in for Thibault. That's already 4 O boards for Brown in this first quarter. They're second from bottom in the league in offensive rebounding per game at 10.
It's a good matchup for them in that category. I just mentioned Grace Thibault's the only one who could even get close height-wise to matching up with Aiello on the Brown side of things. And when I was looking back at that replay on the Young and one shot, either way it was going to be bad because Thibault, that would have been her second, or that was her second, would have been Capstraw's second as well. But the rougher of the two in terms of being able to match up defensively, as Capstraw, still working with one, manages to pick up that O board.
Yeah, once again, Kylie flying in from the weak side and winning the race to the spot. Hands it off to Egger, has that knocked loose by Arnley. Now it's numbers here. Mauricio's got Young with her. Kick ball. If nothing else, it's ball or player, but not both. Capstraw doesn't give in and will stay with Brown.
It still has been a pretty rough go shooting, even though they've maintained this cushion. Only one of their last 9 from the field.
And Yale have responded to the tune of 3 of 11 from the floor in this first quarter. Comes near pocket. Arnley looking for the step back. Dumps it underneath. Aiello again getting plenty of touches, but misses the bunny. And you saw what Egger did there. She had to step off knowing that if she starts to get into any sort of foul trouble, it could be game over for Yale with already Thibault on 2 personals as well as Chapman.
Certainly something to keep an eye out with less than a minute to go in this first quarter. You know, certainly not the best for either side. If you're Brown, the one thing you want to improve on is maximizing your chances from the free throw line. Aiello had so many opportunities, was only 3 of 6 as we get a jump ball.
Yeah, great work by Avery Lee, getting hands in the passing lane, knocking that ball loose, and on the alternate possession will be Yale ball. And it's going to be about a 6-second differential game to shot clock. Actually now, head coach of Brown, Monique LeBlanc, is asking for the officials to have at least a quick chat to see if the alternate arrow was correct.
Well, because again, the first possession was funky because tip was one, but then went out to the went into the corner and went out of play. So that might have caused some confusion as to who the alternating possession arrow went to.
Well, I was watching. I think it was the OVC men's semifinal where they missed not 1 but 2 alternate possession arrows in a row. Good luck trying to figure that one out. Here's the irony. It should have stayed with the same team because it was back-to-back. Egger drives and kicks, so wide open Capstraw off the mark, cleared by Aiello. Still enough time for Brown to go. Olivia Young crossing the timeline, finds Arnley, catch and trigger, and it won't go in, and that will do it for the first quarter. Brown lead by 3. Both teams still very much feeling their way into this one in what is a must-win game for the Bears. Just a calm, cool, and collected 35.
Just an unfathomable figure for a single game, and you can see why she's leading the team in scoring. Almost 15 points per game, just eating up minutes, and they're still lucky enough that they get her for 1 more year.
Yeah, it was actually, I saw on a women's next hoops, I believe. We'll get to that in a moment because it's her and her sister who are playing at Gettysburg. Both have gotten over 1,000 career points basically within a week and a half of each other, as Yale not happy with the call from referee Ashley Rivera. Neither is Dalila Eshe.
There'll be some words, but Brown's getting the benefit of another crack at it here. Both of these teams have gone more than 2.5 minutes without registering a single point, but now it looks like there will be another opportunity here for Nelson.
Yeah, as Egger saying no moss on that sequence. Yeah, credit to Jen Hatfield at the next. Giving a nice little piece on Elena and Grace Arnoley. Just a pair of absolute scorers at all levels. Grace, of course, with Brown and her sister at Gettysburg, and both of the 1,000 career point getters, and got it basically 6 days apart. Really going to have to make some room on the mantelpiece for multiple 1,000 career point balls. As Egger able to reset.
Lot of miles logged for the parents.
Oh, and that one knocked in. Mackenzie Egger splashing it from deep. Just her 19th made three of the season.
It's a big one to tie this up at 10. She can really do it from all levels. You don't see it a lot from deep.
She's added that over the course of the Ivy season. Really over the non-conference play was get the ball into the blocks and let her to go to work or try to take players off the dribble. But now because teams are doubling her inside, fine, got to extend the floor, so be it. Drive and kick, nice read by Capstraw, and she's off to the races. Mauricio got her hands to it. Kylie just able to save it. Brown bench not happy, thinking that Capstraw traveled with it. Egger now drives, finds Guillen, corner pocket three, off the mark. Nice board by Beth Nelson.
She may have also thought just from the angle that Capstraw had her shoulder sneak out of bounds in terms of fighting for that ball, but Yale can't make anything of the second chance, and now Brown can go back on top.
Young will go across to Leahy. There was a deflection on the pass, but a catch and a finish for Gianna Aiello. Give the assist to Mackenzie Leahy, the junior from West Dundee, Illinois.
Stopped his skid where Brown had only gone one for its last 15.
It certainly has not been the cleanest of basketball between the two teams. Yale with 5 turnovers, Brown with a pair. And the teams are combining to shoot roughly about 24%. Egger, she gets hit, no call. Guillen fighting for it, and this will be a foul on Yale's and a Guillen.
Take another look, that's the first personal. Got to respect the effort for Aiello to keep chasing that one down, and possession regardless.
That's why she's the second best rebounder in the league. I mean, we've seen it with actually all the main featured scorers for Brown be also players that are going to be persistent to get the basketball. Arnoley's pretty much dove into half the chairs in the front row in this game. Mauricio, elbow jumper off the mark, cleared by Egger.
Arnoley took the sideline. Aiello decided she's going to take under the cup.
Sanaya Moore finds Avery Lee. It's good! The crowd loved that one as well. A fan favorite, Avery Lee. Great catch and shoot rhythm.
It's a big triple to get the Bulldogs back in front. And Avery Lee continues her hot streak.
Yeah, from Arnoley off the mark. Yale now trying to push as they have their first lead. Capstraw crosses up. Now Egger trying to step back. Can't convert this time, and it'll go out of bounds.
You mentioned how the three ball has become more part of her game, but that's been more of a byproduct of just getting back. She didn't get that one, but Avery Lee, a big one of her own.
And Avery Lee, who actually started off the season really hot from beyond the arc, have really had a rough patch in the middle of the season. And you can understand why. When you're playing in a row, Harvard, Princeton, Penn, Columbia right before that, you're going to be marked. But yeah, has really started to stick them over the last couple of weeks. Nice step through. No, travel gets called on Mauricio.
Take another look, picks up, 1, 2,
Abigail Long will check into the game for Yale. As quickly I change the tone, that's where I'm thinking on the same wavelength. That might have been 2 points.
It's the hop before the 1-2
Yeah,
that I think.
that
like,
probably.
Yeah, I don't think it was, but you could see why an official in live action would think it is.
Capstraw misses on that 3 ball, and it goes out of bounds. But that's the type of player that Isabella Maurizio is. She is so low center of gravity in her movement that it's so difficult to try to figure out what type of dynamic movement she'll make next.
Very shifty player. We've seen her do a lot of attacking, weaving through traffic in the paint, and you think someone who's 5'4" at this level is going to have a tough go. You can see why that can help make up for that deficit.
Well, she'll check off. Mackenzie Leahy back onto the floor for Brown. Now another touch for Aiello inside. Goes over Egger and scores. She's already got 9 here in the first half, along with her 4 rebounds. Again, a double-double in her last game of 15 points, 16 boards against Cornell. And that one knocked out of bounds as Long tried to get some separation, but denied by Leahy.
It's a big closeout there in the corner. We'll get another look. Just all balls swiped it out of the air.
Long is such a deadly 3-point shooter. During her time at Shawnee Mission East High School, she set the program record for career in single season threes. The big thing for her in year 2, I love to see the develop of the quicker release because teams are going to close out just like that. As it goes underneath with Egger, steps through and scores. So if you can't convert by knocking down threes, be a facilitator. And nice job by Long to find the score. It's never easy, of course, translating from that high school level when you're always going to come up and rock 18 to 24 a game, but can you get it done at the college level? As Aiello wants a foul, doesn't get it, but she's in double figures.
Yeah, going back to Aiello, at least it helped that she's got a little Ivy hoops in her blood. That does help. Father Chris played at Princeton. So a little crossing the Ivy League Rubicon, if you will.
Thanksgiving dinners must be fascinating in those conversations. Egger backing down, falls back, just couldn't get it to roll in.
I mean, her mom played golf and rugby at Princeton too, so just straight up parent-daughter divide.
And you're gonna count the basket on the other end. Great finish through contact, Grace Arnoley for 2.
That is a big bucket. Get some more cushion. Taking a little page out of Mauricio's playbook through the contact. And now Brown up 3.
I spy something huge, something mysterious, something tiny, something shiny, something old, something gold, something unexpected. What do we want to see today at the Yale Peabody Museum?
As an athlete, for many of us, it remains a part of your identity really for the rest of your life. I was fortunate enough to have many people there helping me during my athletic career, and so to now be able to give that back to my patients, to be able to help them, is incredibly fulfilling.
We see the promises you make. Doing more than your fair share. Working twice as hard. Saving lives, changing lives. And your life's work deserves nothing less than a lifetime guarantee. You made a promise. So did we. TIAA's promise of a guaranteed retirement paycheck for life is a promise that pays off.
More history than any in the United States has pulled off a piece of basketball history.
It's an absolute commitment to gender equity providing opportunities for our female students to compete at the highest level.
3 championships in a row.
We couldn't have done what we did as a team or individually without each other.
Well, Yale continue to find their way into a bit of foul trouble here. Grace Thibault and Marissa Chapman each picking up 1. And now you have some of your key reserves getting close to that precarious 2-foul mark, as Abigail Long just picked up her first personal. She'll sit. And for the misery compiler, fouling Grace Arnoley. Now she goes to the line to complete the old school 3-point play. Arnoley, that was her first made basket of the day.
Yeah, and it took her 7 attempts, including 3 misses from deep. She's been a force on the floor. We've seen her make a lot of action happen, just hadn't gotten those buckets to come. Gets that one through contact, helps to complete the old-fashioned 3-point play, and now it's a 2-possession game.
Now starting to see the ball go down, giving a little bit of confidence to the junior out of Vienna, Virginia, amongst the Ivy Leaguers in 5 different categories. As Kylie Capstraw with 4 boards and an assist, running the point. Lee gets around a screen. Trying to step through, the floater banked off the window.
Averly already into double figures with that bucket. She is ending her college career with an exclamation point.
Just the 5th time this season Avery Lee is in 10-plus land. Mackenzie Leahy, she gets blocked by Guillen. Keeps it on though. Goes underneath. Aiello. Hustled and hurried. There's Lee making a play. It's Yale possession.
Hustle defense. It was Brown who was doing a lot more of that in the first quarter. The Bulldogs are biting back. You see Lee closing out, joining in the fray from Egger. Lee really the center point of that effort, going back from making the bucket on offense to hounding on defense.
Yeah, the senior from the senior from Los Altos Hills, California, coming up and making a play. Again, a player that appeared in 20 or more games in each of her first 2 seasons. Her season best is 12 points in what was a very low-scoring game back in November against Merrimack. Sanaya Moore knocks it in.
That is a big bucket for the first year from Florida. We've seen her try to trigger from deep. Not the best rate this season, but a big one as we head towards the final stretch of this first half. And Aiello, case in point, doing her thing.
Just turning and scoring, was able to get the seal off grain and finishes. Gianna Aiello, this is now 4 times in the last 5 games she has scored in double figures. Started it with an 18-point performance against Penn. That was a 12-point loss. Drive and kick, swung near corner. Capstraw passes up a look, but goes to the hole. But she was a little bit hurried. Late closeout by Beth Nelson.
It's been a theme with a lot of the Yale shots in close.
But then Mackenzie Egger just takes it away, has Capstraw running the lane, and said gives it to Lee. Top of the key, 3, in and out. And there's Aiello just extendo arm with the left to rip in the board.
Going back to what I was saying, a lot of Yale opportunities down near the post. They're just forcing it through aggressive defense.
As Nelson will line it up, can't knock it in. Aiello drew the triple team, but still couldn't convert it. Capstraw slowing the offense. That 18-point game that Aiello had a couple of weeks ago, that was a career best for her. Or excuse me, the second high in her career. She had the 23 against Monmouth, but the highest in Ivy plays. A nice finish inside for Guillen.
Good little inside roll on the baseline to shed free and get the shot off. We'll see if Yale can hold this into the final minute of the quarter.
Again, Aiello, 2-person game. Swings it back to Mauricio, who will launch it and knock it in. Isabella Mauricio splashing it from deep.
Her first triple attempt of the day is just cash. And now only 11 seconds, it's 11 or 12 separating shot and game clock.
And Brown have fouls to give as well, so they can be very aggressive here. There's Maddie Calhoun guarding Capstraw. Egger gets around a screen. Capstraw drives. She gets, no, it's going to be a travel. Was looking for a contact, but it just didn't come quickly enough.
And now Brown with the lead, 17 seconds. They can make this a two-possession game before they head to the locker room.
Now Yale also have fouls to give, but they have to be smart with it because they have a few players that are sitting very close to those two personals. Maurizio now, Arnoldi again, Aiello, she gets blocked, follows up her effort, and gets fouled. And with 1.2 seconds left, Gianna Aiello will go and shoot a pair.
Just textbook, same routine that we've seen quite a bit. Give Aiello the ball down low, let them try to stop her. Inevitably, you're going to pick up some fouls. There was one right there with 1.2 to go. That has been a problem point for her. That's now only 3 of 7 she's made from the line today. That was a foul called on Guillen. That's her second.
It would definitely be closer to 15, 16 points already. Goes empty. And that will do it, as Yale probably say, all ball in that sequence, or in this case, ball don't lie. But after 20 minutes of action here from New Haven, Connecticut, it's a 2-point coach and their staff. Just something to chew on for the next few months to say, hey, put me in the starting lineup or keep me in the starting lineup.
Especially because this is your memory going into the offseason.
Yep.
You ride in with a big waft of momentum in the winning direction that can carry you into the early stages of the offseason, help fuel you and push the progress as you progress into the spring, summer, fall, and then once you resume games eventually in November.
Beth Nelson with the first 2 points here of the second half as Brown lead 26-22 alongside Brandon Ross. I'm JJ Duke. Thanks for spending this final day of the Ivy regular season with us from New Haven, Connecticut, as that ball was lost straight out of bounds. It will go back over to the Bears. Brown, they have had a really bit of a topsy-turvy season. They exited the month of January in a high. They knocked off Penn at home after beating Dartmouth. And in that stage of the season, as Marissa Chapman, who had a lot of fouls early in the first half, just picked up her third of the game. Brown were at 4-2 at that time, and then they just went on a downward spiral, not winning a game for the entire month of February before getting that win at Cornell. This is where, at this time of the year, you always have that what if, what could have been type of moment. Brown were hoping that if they won a couple of games back in February, they wouldn't even be in this situation. But yeah, here we are.
Now the pressure is on. They need to get the buckets. They need to come away with that W. And even then, it might not be enough.
Isabella Maurizio drives and kicks, finds Olivia Young. Good close by Kylie Capstraw. Now Maurizio from the wing off the mark, and Capstraw with the board. Kylie now 5 rebounds, still looking for her first points of the afternoon. Mackenzie Egger, 5 points in the first half along with 7 rebounds, doing a little bit of everything for Yale. As Chapman trying to get her game going, finds Grace Thibault and knocks it in from 16.
That's a big pair for Thibault, cuts the deficit down to 2, and it'll be interesting to see how Chapman plays out here, because the foul she picked up moments ago, that was her third.
Yet to trigger a shot is Marissa. Has only played 7 minutes, but needs to find a way to get herself into the flow. Another touch for Aiello, backing her way inside. Good work by Thibault to alter the effort. And with Thibault also picking up those 2 personals in the first half, her energy was limited. And now she drives and scores. And that's what you do when you establish that mid-range jumper. Then you become that multi-dimensional scorer.
Forces them to take the bait, and then he could slide inside and make the scoop. Got a tie game.
Grace Thibault, the senior, playing in her final game in a Yale jersey. She was one of 3 Yale players that were honored before the start of this one, as Maurizio was fouled, and a lovely gesture as well by Yale women's basketball honoring the Brown seniors with thigh ball, blow by, and score.
That was a big bucket to bring this level. It was Arnold who was actually driving in for the shot, so she'll be the one to take the free throws here. She's had a bit of a struggle game, even though she's been a phenomenal player. Only 1 of 7 today, 3 total points. She'll try to get some help at the line here.
Which is why you're still going to probably figure out at some point during the course of this game that Grace Arnold will score, because that's what she has done. Entering today, nearly 1,100 career points, double figures in 20 games this season, and top 10 in the Ivy in a number of offensive categories. However, our officials, Sean Good, Keith Batson, and Ashley Rivera, slowing proceedings down.
But on we go nonetheless.
Now they got Grace Thibault for her 3rd personal. She remains on the floor.
And now that means you probably have your best defensive player at 2 different levels working with 3, because Chapman, again, she's made offensive contributions, but her biggest skill is on the defensive side.
As Lee misses, but Thibault with the O board, attacks, throws it off the window, is looking for a foul. Yale bench irate, but it'll stay with the Bulldogs. Odd one there, because I don't know if Thibault realized it, but she had Avery Lee in acres of space on a back cut.
Yale's forced up a lot of those really aggressive, challenging shots, and that's just a tough break. That's now 4 for Thibault.
Gets called for a moving screen. Because the Brown bench are also yelling, why was there a reset of the shot clock? Well, now it doesn't matter. And Yale did not get in a player. If I am Brown, I am getting the ball to Gianna Aiello right now. As now the switch comes. Now to Nelson, underneath Aiello. Couldn't finish. Have to say, though, Yale gets away with that because that was great floor recognition from the Bears. Egger now attacking, splitting, and she gets fouled.
And you have to imagine Anna Guillen waiting to check, and have to figure that's for Thibault.
So Mackenzie Egger, who has put together a fabulous senior campaign, will go to the line to shoot 2. The senior, by way of Mount Pleasant, Michigan, is able to rattle in the first. And I mean, what a story this was. You look at her 3 previous years, just barely getting over 300 career points. This season alone has scored almost 400 points, nearly 250 rebounds. And I mean, this is such a tough league to break in first team all conference, even second team all conference. She would actually have a shot at being player of the year.
It was so funny. I was doing a game here a couple of weeks ago. I got to talk with Linda Sivino, the head coach of Dartmouth, before that game. Asked her what she's on the lookout for in the matchup. Said, I don't know where 24 came from, but she's become a menace.
As Nelson knocks in the other end. And you could honestly ask that same question to the other 6 coaches in the Ivy in addition to Coach Simino, because it's all the same game plan. Find Egger and keep her quiet. And Mackenzie has rose to every challenge, and you'd have to figure that the coaches will be voting for her for first team. That ball's ripped away, and now Arnold is off to the races. Beautiful bounce pass ahead to Nelson. Can't get it to go. There's a great lead out, but not converting it. Now Yale push tempo. Capstraw waiting with Lee. Attacking the baseline. Lee, too strong. Try to get her own miss. And it's cleared by Maurizio. Tempo has just picked up here as Arnold splits him and scores.
What a run here for Brown. They'd really struggled to string together baskets. They've been able to develop this cushion here in the middle of the 3rd quarter.
Arnold, after just making 1 field goal in the entirety of the first half, is up to 6 points now. Yan finds Lee in the corner. She knocks it in. It's a new career high for Avery Lee, up to 13 points.
It comes out her second triple, gets wide open in that corner. And more presently makes this a 1-point game. The pressure going back to Brown's back.
Aiello driving, can't score. That's a strong rebound from Mackenzie Egger.
And bold moves on the defensive effort from Gianna, who was really playing dicey with possibly drawing her third foul.
That ball goes out of bounds, and it will take us to a timeout on the floor. But sometimes you have to find motivation deep within yourself to finish the season as if you mean to go on. And Avery Lee has done just that. This corner pocket three is a new career high for her with 13 points. Brown leads by 1.
When you want bedtime to be a good time.
Good night, sweetheart.
It matters where you stay. Conrad Hotels and Resorts. Hilton for the stay.
Out here, you learn quick. If you plant it, it'll grow. Whether it's acres of land or a raised garden bed, we've got all the supplies and know-how you'll need.
Welcome to Tractor Supply and to life out here.
Whatever you want to make it. With the standard hybrid new 2025 Ford Maverick.
Off your toes, little man.
Powerade, hydrating the journey with 50% more electrolytes.
Well, Monique LeBlanc in her 4th season at the helm of Brown women's basketball, trying to get her team into the postseason. They've gotten close in the past. She had the most wins for Brown in a campaign since the 2016-17 season with 16, but they were on the outside looking in due to a tiebreaker. But everywhere that she has gone has had success, including a decade-long reign at Merrimack. It was a regular contender for the NE10 title in their D2 days, and actually led them in that first year transition to the D1, won 20 games that year. So it was a great hire, as off the timeout, layup no good from Ima Ofumren, freshman from Round Rock, Texas. But Yale again, as you so poetically said perfectly, trying to spoil the Bears' party. Kiera Odom, step back, yes.
You don't see her trigger often, but she is quite the threat from distance. That from inside the arc, but nonetheless a big bucket to put the Bulldogs back in front.
Yeah, the native formerly from Loomis Chaffee School getting into the action as the effort off the mark. That was from Olivia Young.
Hailing from the Salt City, just 16.5 minutes per game this season, but that's a role that's clearly slated to grow based on how she's performed up to this point.
For those unaware, the Salt City is in fact Syracuse, New York. I know for you that's one thing, but for the rest of the world it's like,
Salt City?
Then where's Pepper City? And that could be our trivia question if we had one. Egger from the elbow, just a bit too strong as it was at the end of the shot clock. If there is one, that would be awesome. See, that's a good man right there. You're immediately looking that up as a foul gets called on Sanaya Moore, stopping Arnoley attacking the hole.
The only thing the great Google machine could come up with, we'll get to the answer in a second, as you take another look at the more efforts to reject Grace Arnoley.
I'm not counting that.
Yeah, Pepper Pike, Ohio.
No.
A suburb of Cleveland? I don't think so.
No, that's not good enough for me. That's disappointing that there isn't one. Arnoley's first free throw is good. Grace, the leading free throw shooter in the Ivy at 87%. Misses on that one. Boy, Brown have left a lot on the free throw line. That's a hard fall from Gianna, holding her right ankle that happened right in the far corner. And this spells trouble as well, Brendan, for Yale, because Grace Thibault's on 4 personals. And then you don't have a whole lot of depth after that. This might be one of those where Egger might have to go to the 5.
I think you have to.
Well, it's good to see that Gianna being helped to her feet by Yale's athletic trainer, but not putting any weight on her right ankle.
That's obviously a tough look.
And also assistant coach Hannah Early Vaughn helping her off the floor as well. Yeah, that's the problem for Yale right now, is just their roster depth. Very heavy in the guard position, just don't have a lot of forwards. In fact, listed forwards would be Egger as a guard forward, Thibault, Gianna. That's it. So now you're going to be asking players like Marissa Chapman maybe to play the 3. Egger's likely going to go to the 5. And actually the way the Capstraw has come out, she's playing as a post.
Chapman's already got 3 fouls.
Chapman gets the handoff, finds Moore, a long 2, works out to be a great pass for Capstraw, dumps it underneath to Egger, who gets blocked.
What a rejection under the basket.
Coming out of absolute nowhere is Nelson after the double team. Egger, though, lost her defender and knocks in the jumper. 1 point away from another double-double for McKenzie.
Already 10 boards, a couple steals and a block to boot as well.
Arnoley, that's tough on the other end.
She's starting to find her stride, up to 9 points now.
Lee, or excuse me, that was Capstraw, my apologies, not able to convert.
They're gonna let us breathe?
No, not at all. Track me. No, but you know what? Empty the tank on the last day of the season. Why would you have to hold anything back? Especially for Brown, because you have to win this ball game.
A fantastic point. They know what the stakes are. And for a lot of these Yale players, there is no tomorrow. They got to leave it all out there today.
Mackenzie Egger 1 point away from her 11th double-double of the season. Meanwhile, Gianna Aiello, who has missed a number of free throws, add another one to the collection. That's 3 of 9. For Aiello, I'm not taking this as a commentator's curse, because just stating the facts at the beginning of the game at 71% and shooting at 33. Now make it 40. Still a great game. But if you're Brown, you are looking back on your day at the free throw line, especially for the amount of times that they've been fouled. Arnoley knocked that loose. Egger able to recover. It's so funny watching every time Yale have any sort of issues bringing up the ball, because there's a number of Yale women's basketball alums on the sideline, one of those being Gianna Clark, who was the day in, day out PG scoring guard for Yale last year, and you could see her squirm every time that there's any sort of a half-court trap.
Now 3 seconds left to shoot off this inbound. Chapman's really open.
And Chapman with the blow-by, but misses everything. That was a great look, just not converted.
Yeah, got to go for the open option there. Just couldn't make anything of it.
This game was a 2-point game coming into the third quarter with Brown leading 24-22. Yale have scratched and clawed. We've hardly had any time where we've had a multi-possession lead. In fact, the largest lead in this game is at the 5:22 mark in the third when Brown led by 4. Nice finish. Aiello once again up to 16 points.
It's been a heck of a performance for her. We still got a full quarter left to play as we only have 2 shot clocks worth of action remaining in this frame.
Egger kicks it, took a deflection. Capstraw with 15, pulls up, can't knock it in. Yale have been cold here in the third quarter, shooting 33%. Brown not a whole lot better, but in the context of a close game, it's good enough.
There is separation between the game and shot clock, but it's hardly existent. Now it's just bouncing around at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, I like that, thank you. Down to 6. Arnoley attacking. Arnoley can't get it to go, but she gets fouled. With 1 second left in the quarter, Yale are over the limit. And I said at the beginning of the quarter, scorers will find ways to score. And Grace Arnoley getting hit a few times attacking the hole.
Avery Lee was very unhappy with that call. DeLay Lachey also having some words as well as we take a look at these free throws. Arnoley has been able to make up for some of her struggles from the field at the free throw line. Knocking down that one, she's in double figures now.
And most of that because of the fact that she's been efficient from the charity stripe, and that's going to do it here for the the third quarter. As we enter the fourth, this is the co-largest lead of the game that anybody has had by 4 points, but it's Brown who need to win to. And he kept going down a little bit. I mentioned where Gianna Clark, the previous do-it-all guard for Yale, basically squirming in her chair anytime that there's any sort of half-court pressure. You know a player is still locked in that you're removed from college basketball, and you're still living and dying by every possession.
Because these are all still your teammates.
Absolutely.
These are people you are so close with. You've gone into battle with. You're riding the emotions along with them, even if you're not out there on the floor.
Going to call a held ball there as Yale concede possession, their first of the quarter. Quick check from elsewhere in Philadelphia with 1:32 to go. Princeton lead Penn by 9. So again, everything is going in favor of Brown so far. As a tie up right in front of us, keeps possession for Brown. Did get a full reset of the shot clock as Young trying to knock it in. Sanaya Moore takes a spill, but now Avery Lee, who's got a career best 13 points, comes away with it. Again, for Brown to get into the Ivy tournament, a win today plus a Penn loss against Princeton, and then you put it in the hands of the net rankings as Brown and Penn are tied in every other tiebreaker coming into today. This is how, at this time of the year, it's cliche, but when March gets mad, it gets absolutely bonkers.
Without question. All of it riding down to these tight tie breaks, and it'll be interesting to see how this game shakes out, how Ivy Madness shakes out once it kicks into high gear this coming week. And you see Grace Thibault preparing to check back in, and one thing to keep an eye on, she'll be heading back out with 4 fouls, so if she draws another, that's the end of her college career.
Egger gets it off, in and out. Rebound, Sanaya Moore gets hit, and Maurizio picks up the personal. That is just her first.
With a Yale inbound under the basket, Thibault's going to come on for Chapman, who's also in foul trouble.
This is the definition of rolling the dice on the last game of the season. You need to get some to go, and Yale, who are seemingly down Anna Guillen, who picked up an ankle injury last quarter. Thibault gets cut off. Looking for an option, lost the handle. Great work by Aiello to knock it away. Aiello 1 rebound away from a double-double. Already tied her Ivy League best in points in the game with 18, but gets called for a travel. Just the 6th turnover, by the way, for Brown in this game.
A very clean performance for them on their end. Yale on the other end has 12 at this point, and a lot of error-free basketball, even if a lot of the main outputs have not been working. 35% from the field, 16% from deep is definitely a figure you don't want.
Thibault lost the handle. Once again, it's a drop-down defense from Arnoley that altered that possession. This is that part of the game. So you're talking about, it was that that foul that Arnoley drew with the second left, and there were a number of Yale personnel players and coaches that were really getting into it, the refs. You have to hold and keep your head at this time of the game. Find a way to stay locked in. You saw Thibault shaking her head, saying, I need the ball quicker in that situation. Just don't do anything too crazy and out of your own game. And Aiello misses, gets her own rebound, knocks down Egger, and Capstraw locks it up. It'll be Yale ball in the alternate arrow.
You see Thibault having to be a little careful. Didn't want to get too much in on the fray. Kind of had to go hands back. She doesn't want her time on the floor in her college career to end quite yet. Now you got Capstraw leading this possession up the court. Yale's worked at its best when it's moved the ball around and waited for the open shot closer to the outside. Not a lot of success down in the post, just trying to throw it up over defenders who are generally larger and can get up there.
Capstraw got the handoff, can't convert. So many different types of denied defense from Aiello in that sequence. Got below, got above, took off angles. She has just put on a master class here on the Saturday afternoon. Arnoley attacking with the right. Gets cut off by Sanaya Moore. Maurizio will trigger. It's good! Isabella Maurizio splashing it in. Brown, their largest lead of the day.
Only
timeout, Yale.
Maurizio was only 1 of 7 from the field before that triple. And then she just drills it, makes it a 9-point game. And in a game that the Bears must win, they are delivering when it counts.
Out here, you learn quick. If you plant it, it'll grow. Whether it's acres of land or a raised garden bed, we've got all the supplies and know-how you'll need.
Welcome to Tractor Supply and to life out here.
When you'd rather enjoy the pool than clean someone else's.
Sweetie, get out of the pool.
It matters where you stay. Conrad Hotels and Resorts. Hilton for the stay.
Whatever you want to make it. With the standard hybrid new 2025 Ford Maverick.
Off your toes, little man.
Powerade, hydrating the journey with 50% more electrolytes.
Well, Dalila Eshe trying to galvanize her group for one final push to conclude this 24-25 season. The 11th head coach in Yale history has been to a lot of places in her journey, including as a player in the WNBA. But this is now, you talk about that internal motivation when you're out of postseason contention. What gets you up in the morning? What makes you fight through the finish line? Those are the messages that the Yale staff are going to be asking these players to the final 640.
Without question, and you're really just pushing to play your best basketball.
As Thibault just takes a wild effort, but she gets her own rebound and gets fouled.
Gotta crank up the tenacity right there, following your shot. Having to play it down to the floor, pick it up off the hardwood. Gotta maximize your opportunities in those situations.
Some would say that was an ill-advised first shot, but credit to her to keep going.
And if you're hurt, you're taking advantage. You get one whistle against you and you're done. And now sitting on 4 personals.
So now Thibault to the line for a pair. Misses on the first. That was Grace's first free throw attempt of the game. Has only played 12 minutes due to her 4 personal fouls. But all of her shots have been from that range, so it's comforting enough for her. Goes 1 of 2. Again, Brown need to win, need Penn to lose to Princeton. They're getting both of those aspects right so far as Maurizio spots, can't knock it in. Aiello fighting with Thibault. That's always going to be heart and mouth moment for Yale anytime Thibault goes up for a rebound. Just because those 4 personals. Sanaya Moore behind the back, throws it off the window and converts.
That's a huge bucket. Just like that, back to 2 possessions.
A good little burst after that timeout. Nelson, but it's an offensive foul. And again, it was another heart and mouth moment there as Thibault hit the deck with those 4 fouls, but we go the other way. Aiello gets hit with her second.
Get another look at it, feed down low. Yeah, just the shove down with the left arm. Aiello has emerged relatively unscathed as she's put on a really solid performance. 18 points and 10 boards. Only player on either side with a double-double right now.
As Egger just 1 point away from garnering her 11th of the season. Lee gets separation. And a wedgie. I think that's one of the first I've seen here at the gym this season.
I think I've done, was it 3 or 4 games with you this year, and that's our second wedgie, I think?
Yeah, what was it? Fairfield Maris's. We'll check it here. Perfect. Stuck for days until the mop.
Beautiful placement.
Ugh.
No. So we have a 50% hit rate. I'll keep that.
Oh, this is good. This is great. Arnoley steps through, couldn't convert. But here comes, Arnoley was trying to hunt down the ball off Capstraw. Sanaya Moore, a bit of a wild take. And it's going to be Yale ball.
I think they're going to say it touched off Aiello before it trickled over the line.
And I think also when she landed as well, might have had her heel on the line too. Capstraw to trigger the inbound. Goes into the corner. It worked out to be a great pass for Sanaya Moore, able to stay with it. Brown claiming a travel, and she goes out of bounds. And that will take us to a timeout on the floor with 4:54. Brown lead by 6. We'll have the remainder of this one when we come back on ESPN+.
When you want bedtime to be a good time.
Good night, sweetheart.
It matters where you stay. Conrad Hotels and Resorts. Hilton for the stay.
Out here, you learn quick. If you plant it, it'll grow. Whether it's acres of land or a raised garden bed, we've got all the supplies and know-how you'll need.
Welcome to Tractor Supply and to life out here.
Whatever you want to make it. With the standard hybrid new 2025 Ford Maverick.
Off your toes, little man.
Powerade, hydrating the journey with 50% more electrolytes.
Well, Brown want that energy going into the postseason. So far, so good in the line of tiebreakers. They need Princeton to knock off Penn. They're getting that thus far. Then it goes to the computers to settle the tiebreaker. Couple of notables elsewhere. Harmony Turner is doing what Harmony Turner does. 33 points in this game against Dartmouth on 15 of 22 shooting. And Columbia all over Cornell because it's the Cece and Kitty show. Both are either on or just before double-doubles. 3 is too strong from Maddie Calhoun, and Avery Lee keep it. Again for Yale, they're playing for pride to ruin Brown's bid for a postseason, but also the first time closing out with wins in 3 of their last 4 in the previous 3 years. Gianna Aiello with the game-high 18 points along with 10 boards, giving her 5 double-doubles on the season. Calhoun goes underneath. Aiello once again spins, can't convert. Wow. The legs are starting to go a little bit, though, for Aiello because she's missed a few of those as Lee gets hit and scores. Aiello averages 24 minutes a game, Brandon. She's going to be at 35 in a second.
She's going to get gassed. She's had to take a lot as a foul will get called as a bit of contact on Arnold trying to get that pass away. You don't blame Yale for deploying the full court press. You got to try something to try to stymie this Bears offense.
Last game, Aiello played a career-long 38 minutes against Cornell. Just got to 35 here, so she'll match that mark if this game finishes in regulation. Arnold missed that one off the mark.
A tough miss for Moore.
Yeah, and Yale asking for that ball staying with them, but it's not. Keith Batson very animated and saying it was last touch off Yale. Arnold driving kick. Good recovery by Yale, but Calhoun spots it up and knocks it in. Maddie Calhoun, big shot. Brown extend their lead just a little bit more, and Yale call timeout.
That window closed right as she was trying to pull that trigger, but does get it off and absolutely drills it. The junior from Rhode Island, the home state player, giving a big cushion with just over 3 minutes to go.
Well, this is the final basketball game here at John J. Lee Amphitheater, but you see some of the Yale gymnastics squad in attendance. They're going to have their final home meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. when the Gym Terps of Maryland and LIU come up north. Paris McGee Jr. will join me for that one, but all on their phones looking at scores elsewhere. Brown again happy where things stand at the moment. Maddie Calhoun, just her 12th made three of the season, but that could probably be, in the context of the year, the biggest one.
Without question.
Lee lost the handle. It was Aiello who knocked it away, and Arnoley now attacking, but wisely again pulls it out. This is where you have to value every possession to finish the game.
Nothing can be wasted.
Arnoley, now Mauricio attacking, cut off by Moore. Grace will have to launch. That doesn't catch anything. Now Yale don't have to just be frenetic here. They can still run their sets. Egger instead launches in and out. Yale also, if they want to get into the fouling game, they're going to have to start assessing quickly because they have to give three. And they don't exactly have the personnel to do that anymore.
This is really in the dicey scenario because you can't have a lot of your players getting fouls, and also it's not quite the margin where that's going to make a difference yet.
That's a great pass ahead. Moore just got undercut. Yale asking for a foul. Thibault, I mean, if that pass didn't get into the hands, it's probably game over.
I mean, here's the thing. You're already at a 3-possession game. Fouling doesn't really help you here. You got to get another bucket before you even think about that, which means a stop right here on this possession.
Goes underneath to Aiello. Said goes back to Arnoley. A little two-player game. Mauricio off the mark. And it's going to be a foul on Kylie Capstraw.
They just took a tumble right into the legs. It's a tough look, but that's clear as day. And now Brown gets a fresh 20, and they can milk this down to.
Yeah, this is where if you're Yale,
yeah.
If you're Yale, you got to start fouling. If I'm actually Dalila Eshe, I'm putting someone on just to foul. It can't be Thibault. They're not going to foul, looks like. Moore gave Arnoley a little bit of work to deal with. Mauricio steps through, misses, long rebound. Egger had a beat on it, pops back to Arnoley, and again she'll peel it out. And now Yale have to foul. And they're going to have to foul 2 more times to get Brown into the penalty. And this is where, if I'm Dalila Eshe, I'm throwing Abigail Long onto the floor and just having her foul because you have so many players with 3 and 4.
And in total, just as a status check, you have Sanaya Moore, who has sneakily worked her way up to 3. Capstraw has 3, Chapman as well, and Thibault, since the early part of this quarter when she jumped onto the floor, has always had 4, but she's managed to stay clean.
Ironically enough, Egger has 0 fouls, so she could actually be the 1-2 foul players. And seeing how many free throws Brown have missed in this game, it's not the worst situation in the world to just extend the game as long as possible. Yale also have 3 timeouts, so they can advance. They have to do this exercise 1 more time.
Using the entire floor here.
As Arnoley blows by Moore. Oh, she gives it off. That was an interesting decision by Grace Arnoley. The league's best free throw shooter giving up the ball. Maddie Calhoun has taken a grand total of 3 free throws this season. Though she has made all 3 of her free throws, so in essence, You have a person at the line. She knocks in the first.
And honestly, just milk the clock. You're taking a couple more seconds off. You're already up 3 possessions anyway.
Well, she gets the pair. Hey, 5-5.
Yeah, it's still 3 possessions. Now you're up 9. 46 seconds left. It's going to take a lot more than a couple of good possessions for Yale here as another timeout called.
Yeah, so now if you're Yale, you really just have to go quick. Again, this is the final day of the regular season. This is what the standings look like. Again, that final spot still to be determined. If Columbia wins, which by all points saying that they will win, they will have the outright title. That Princeton-Harvard semifinal in the tournament is going to be grab your popcorn level, because for me, and the way that Charlie Cream's latest bracketology has it, the winner of that game guarantees them a spot in the NCAA tournament. The loser of that game could be okay, but you never quite know.
No, you don't.
And just for, points purposes, if Columbia loses, and the clock never stops, so we either...
Never stopped or never started?
Either. And now we're going to have some more time.
Nothing like some clock theatrics as the officials are going to go to the monitor to double check this here.
Oh, of course, it's the last game of the season where, these things tend to happen. It's we say the first game, but the last game happens. So here we go. Yeah, the way that I see it right now, it's the winner of that Princeton-Harvard semifinal next Friday that is in the tournament lock. In my opinion, this is the way that going by across latest bracketologies, both by ESPN and elsewhere. If Columbia, let's just say for devil's advocate, drops a game, it's always possible in that semifinal, there's the possibility. Say that whoever that 4 seed is that wins the whole thing, could you dare to imagine a 4-bid Ivy? Because who's to say that Columbia, Princeton, and Harvard don't deserve being in the tournament with not only their net, their personnel, the eye test, and just the resume of teams that they've played this year?
I wouldn't discount the possibility. It's just hard to see. It's a matter of who they're lying on that bubble with at that point. You have to think.
Look, at the end of the day, how do they say in podcasting world, it's your Ivy League fan fiction for that alternate universe of having a 4-team Ivy representative. It was crazy to think that about a decade ago, a perfect Princeton team barely got a 9 seed. A perfect Princeton team barely got a 9 seed. And now we're talking the craziest scenarios of what if.
Yeah.
It just shows how good this league is.
100%. It's just been incredible to see the growth over the last few years, the advancement of skill, the high-level play that we've seen kick in. And I'm just curious now what they're reviewing, because this seems like more than... Do they need this much time to determine the clock?
Well, so the clock never started, but then it did start well after the whistle was blown. So we are possibly talking of either just resetting to where we were, and imagine if it never happened, and then you'd have to figure out the right time, or you actually have to count down the amount of seconds that were played until we stop. And it looks like our officiating crew has come to an agreement. Sean Good, Keith Batson, and Ashley Rivero. And now they've moved the shot clock down to 16 seconds. That can't be. There you go, 26. I was about to say, that cannot be right. It's going to be Abigail Long to trigger the inbound. And it goes to Avery Lee. Yale have to trigger quickly. They don't need a 3 necessarily, but they have to get a shot. They go inside a cap straw. Passes up a look, goes to Long. Off the mark. Thibault with the rebounds. Got to go straight up, and she throws it away to Arnoley. That's going to be a foul on Grace Arnoley. That's Brown's last to give.
Now 25.7 down by 9. Now at this point, it's got to be a 3.
They got a good look for long. It just took way too much time. Arnoley picking up her second personal. Lee. Oh, they get Arnoley on the foul there. And that's not exactly a great situation right now if you're Brown, because Arnoley picks up the foul. That stops the clock, and Yale get free throws.
That's going to be... I mean, you get Grace Steibel going to the line.
But it doesn't matter for Yale. The clock stopped. You have a chance to get points either way. It's still a 3-possession game, however you write it, but the clock stops.
It does stop the clock, and that's another point on the board for Yale. Then are we just going to keep doing this game back and forth?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
And Thibault goes 2 of 2, and now she's in double figures, which is a credit to Grace Thibault, by the way, because she's only logged 18 minutes, has been start-stop for her fouls with 4 personals. I didn't realize we were in the midst of doing a bit while I was just more trying to get a point across, but we actually did a bit.
Yep.
That just shows how end of the season our mentality is, where, let's see, you were doing lacrosse recently. I was doing softball this morning.
Yep.
Trying to just remember the rules of every sport in crossover season.
Crossover season always becomes a mess.
Oh, it absolutely is. And then, of course, when you have to bundle up to go outside.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, I'm not having that. All right, so if you're Brown here, last possession, they passed up Arnoley getting free throws. They went to Maddie Calhoun, who splashed him, but Calhoun had only taken 3 free throws previous to it. And that's going to be a foul on Sanaya Moore. She went through the back of Arnoley. And that's the last foul that Yale have to give. Or in fact, they put 6 on the board. It's a moot point. It'll be free throws now for Arnoley, who's gotten the majority of her offense from the charity stripe. It's 5 of 8.
You can make it 6 of 9 now.
Yale still have 2 timeouts, so no doubt Dalila Eshe will advance. But you'd have to figure that this is probably the last realistic chance for them.
Yeah, at this point, 2s are not going to be enough.
No, not at all.
And honestly, at this point, if Yale weren't already in the bonus, you would wonder if Brown considers just giving fouls to keep them from getting 3s off.
Yeah,
but
no, that's a good point. It's done in Philadelphia. Princeton win by 67-53. Wow, Columbia scored a ton at the end of the game, mind you. They knock off Cornell 91-58. And congratulations to Columbia. They're the outright Ivy League champions, led by the 21 points, 10 rebounds from Cece Collins, 14 points, 9 assists from Kitty Henderson, and Susie Raffu with 10 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. That's going to be the team to beat. Had it, lost it in the championship, got in as a first 4 as an at-large. They want to go a step further, and Harvard finish up with a 74-40 victory. So this is really probably it is the only single-digit deficit game in the Ivy today. But Brown and Penn would have done their job to force it to the laptop tomorrow morning. And that would be net ranking as Arnoley knocks that out of bounds. But all you could say is for Brown, they gave themselves a chance on the day, where over the previous month, they did anything but give themselves a chance.
They were shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, but they've really kicked it back into high gear, and now they put it in the hands of the great, I don't know if it's an IBM computer at this point, but the great device that will calculate who advances and whose season comes to a wrap.
And the crazier thing is, as Egger drives inside, cannot convert. Thibault with the O-board, gives it back to Egger, who completes her double-double. We're not going to know until tomorrow morning. So everyone will think about it, but we're not going to have the final representative in the Ivy tournament until the Ivy League headquarters in New Jersey announces it.
We will wait.
And also when the NCAA refreshes the stat sheet.
Brown takes the timeout, and you could see after that bucket, Thibault and Egger just exchanging a big hug. It's so emotional for them. Long careers. Egger especially having such a big season as a senior, and the entire crowd here is up on their feet.
Egger's season specifically is going to be one for the record books in the sense of how she turned it around. This is a player that Coach Esche said worked her tail off to be in a position to play 35 minutes a game. Last year, she averaged about 18 minutes, 3 points, 3 boards. This year, she had to be the player in what you don't often put a label on it, but it was a transitionary period season for Yale. But ultimately, the job was done, and Egger will be the standout. And I just hope for all the Ivy League coaches that are watching, if they're the ones that get the final say, that she should deserve her flowers. She has put in a first-team All-Ivy League season, and she should be awarded for it because of it. And that's not wearing Yale-tinted glasses. That's just being someone that watches a lot of basketball.
And the skill, and I don't think it has gone unnoticed. I think a lot of coaches have really recognized just the immense effort she's undertaken over this past offseason to up her game and really bring it in her final college season.
The foul gets called, so this will be the final free throws. And now we're going to have our moment here where Yale will take off their seniors as Grace Thibault, Mackenzie Egger, and Avery Lee will exit for the final time as members of Yale women's basketball. Every athlete in any sport has a different story. And you could see when it comes across their face when they exit for the final time, and now Brown will take their opportunity to send their seniors off as well, because they don't know if this is going to be their last game or if they're going to be playing next week. But we work in college sports enough that we get to see many great moments, and everyone they bring the same amount of emotions anytime.
Every single time. And for Yale, they won't go out with the win, but they'll go out knowing they gave it their all. And for Brown, they've done everything that they could to force it.
To force it to the 19th hole, if you will.
So to speak.
Because, yeah, this is literally, it's the craziest situation. I mean, women's basketball had its moment a few days ago when South Carolina and Texas had to go to a coin flip to determine the overall #1 seed in the SEC tournament. But that was just for seeding purposes. This is literally for if a team's season is going to carry on for another week or not. As you see the Mackenzie Egger family members, friends, loved ones riding the emotions just as Mackenzie's going in them with real time. This will be the final possession as Kylie Capstraw to trigger the inbound. Sanaya Moore drives, cannot convert, and that's going to do it. Brown get the job done on the day that they needed to get the job done. They win 53-44. They will finish in a tie for 4th. And as they say, we now go to the computer to figure out who is going to be that final 4 seed. Yale's season comes to a conclusion with a 4-23 record, 3-11 in the Ivy. Brown at 12-15 over.